What's going on, baseball fans? It's the Bigs Podcast, and this is episode number 3. We're going to be talking about the MLB postseason awards, the MVP, the Cy Young, the Rookie of the Year, the Manager of the Year, and the Comeback Player of the Year. Those are the 5 categories we're going to talk about, both AL and NL. With me this week, first from Denver, Colorado, Jason Ashby. Jason, how you doing today?
Doing great, Joe. Happy to be here. Excited to get the thing going.
Yeah, let's dive right into this thing after we talk about our commissioner and the reigning, defending, undisputed world heavyweight bigs champion of 2021 and a 3-time champion, and our co-host Ben Nisman. Benny, how you doing today from sunny Beechwood, New Jersey? Is that where your new home is?
Aberdeen, Mattawan,
Not even close.
but not even close. And it's not even sunny here, actually. It was pretty chilly. Joe, I will say that introduction is never going to get old. And fortunately, I get to hear it for almost another year.
Mm-hmm.
So keep the love going. Appreciate you having me on today, man. Looking forward to talking about this.
This is going to be a lot of fun. Let's get this thing kicked off. We're going to start with the American League MVP award. It's probably not close, but somehow we came up with 9 names that we can talk about here. Some of the lower ranked names, but that are deserving of a conversation. Let's start with Brandon Lau. He was probably the best hitter on the Tampa Bay Rays this year. Probably isn't going to get a whole lot of love in the conversation, but 247 batting average, 340 on base, 39 home runs, 99 RBIs, 97 runs scored, played 149 games. You know, we worried in the preseason about playing time for position players on the Tampa Bay Rays. Brandon Lau didn't have a problem finding it. Ben Nisman, how do you feel about this guy, and would you vote for him for this award?
Wow. When you say 149 games, I'm still thinking, well, it looks like he missed 13. If he maybe gets 6 more games, maybe he puts the runs into 100. Maybe he gets that one extra RBI that gets him to 100. In baseball, we love round numbers.
Mhm.
So I'm turned off by the fact that he could not at least crack 100 on either the runs or the RBI side, or not get to 40. It had to be 39. I understand he had 3 in one game in the second to last game against the Yankees, but I think the batting average isn't pretty enough compared to all the other competitors in this category.
Yeah, and there's better competitors, let's be honest, but Brandon Lau definitely worth talking. Jason, I'm going to throw this one to you. Jose Abreu, and we're going to bring up his line here as well. Obviously, the guy who carried the Chicago White Sox to the playoffs. 261 batting average, 351 on base percentage, and 831 OPS, 30 homers, 117 RBIs, and 86 runs scored in 152 games. Would you vote for this guy?
I mean, I would give him a vote. Yeah. I mean, he drives and runs. That's what he's done his entire career. 117 RBIs is one of, if not the best, top in the league. So, I second in the league. So, he's certainly worthy. I don't think he's not going to be the guy, but he's certainly worthy of consideration.
Right. Move on to the next name. Ben, it is one of 2 Toronto Blue Jays that we talked about. Marcus Semien, who was a finalist in 2019, lost out in that race. Now is back again this year, and even better, 162 games played every single game this year, 115 runs scored, 45 home runs, 102 RBIs, a 265 batting average, 334 on base, and 873 OPS. Would you vote for this guy?
How many doubles did he have?
39.
Well, that's not 40, is it?
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, those numbers are gaudy. And obviously, we're going to be talking about one of his teammates in a moment, but the team did not make the postseason. They were a game short. And I feel like when you're talking about a most valuable player, in general, it's a guy that stood by himself amongst the rest, that propelled the team into the playoffs, hands down. On the Blue Jays, there were a ton of guys that had unbelievable seasons between Marcus Semien, and even though he missed time, Bo Bichette had a really good year. George Springer was unconscious at a certain point when he came back from injury, even though he missed a great deal of time. So it's tough for me to go to a Toronto Blue Jay in this conversation.
Okay. Jason, we'll kick it to you for the next one here. This guy's team did, in fact, make the playoffs. In fact, made it in the division of which the Toronto Blue Jays play. We're going to talk about Rafael Devers and the Boston Red Sox. Devers on the season, 279 batting average, 352 on-base percentage, an 890 OPS with 38 homers, 113 RBIs, 101 runs scored in 156 games, and for Ben, 37 doubles on the season. Would you vote for Rafael Devers?
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, didn't he hit the home run to propel him into the playoffs at the last game of the regular season?
Yes.
Right. So
yes.
That to me, that almost screams MVP. Even when you add in the rest of his numbers, that's just the icing on the cake for this guy. And I think he sometimes he gets lost in the shuffle too. You kind of forget about him. But he had a monster year. Yeah, I'd vote for this guy.
Yeah, he at one point was leading the league in RBIs. Ended up finishing third in that category on the season. He's so young and so good at what he does. He actually finished fourth, I apologize, in RBIs. Teoscar Hernandez, who's not on this list that we're going to talk about, is another guy that certainly would be worthy. But can't have too many.
Why? Did he have over 100 RBIs?
He had 116 RBIs, Ben. Yeah,
Teoscar
Hernandez, just really quickly, 296, 346 on base, 870 OPS, 32 homers, 116 RBIs, 92 runs scored. He was also unconscious on the same team. But Ben, I will kick it to you for the next guy on the list that we're talking about. His team also made the playoffs, though we're done after just one game. It's Aaron Judge, who finally puts together a full season since 2017. And here's what we get. 287 batting average, 373 on base percentage for a 916 OPS, 39 home runs, 98 RBIs, 89 runs scored in 148 games. Would you vote for him?
Yeah, I probably would. I feel like he was hands down the best Yankee, game to game.
Oh yeah.
They don't even come close if he doesn't have a season like this.
Right.
How many games did he play?
148. It's the most he's played since 2017, which we know what he did in 2017, winning the Rookie of the Year and coming in second in the MVP voting. He played 155 games that year and hit 52 bombs. 148 games this year, 39 and 98. I think if we live by the same rules that we're putting Brandon Lau in, he's not somebody I would vote for, but a much better batting average than Brandon Lau. 40 ticks better at 287 and a 373 on base percentage is the best that we've heard so far.
Hey, how many strikeouts did he have?
158.
It's not pretty.
It's not pretty, but it's a hell of a lot better than what he's done.
No question. And I feel like for a player like that, I actually expected it to be worse. I expected it to be something closer to 180. Mm-hmm. So I think this is
by comparison, his 2019 season, he played 102 games. He struck out 141 times.
Wow.
This year, 148 games. So another 46 games, only 158 strikeouts.
Right.
The K percentage is going to be much lower this year.
Yes, absolutely. And just giving proof that this guy is a star. It's not just a flash in the pan one year in 2017. If the guy can stay on the field, he's a bona fide star in baseball.
Right. Jason, we'll go to you for the next one here, and we're going to discuss the Astros' best hitter. They're in the World Series, and without this guy, I don't think they are. It's Yordan Alvarez, a 277 batting average, a 346 on base percentage, an 877 OPS, 33 homers, 104 RBIs, 92 runs scored, 144 games. Almost all of them were at the DH position, which makes it a little bit more interesting here. I don't think we've seen an MVP. Maybe Big Papi was the only one. that was an MVP, that was a DH, would you vote for Yordan Alvarez?
I traded the guy. um, so I don't know if that counts. I probably wouldn't. Kind of the same mentality that Ben had with the Blue Jays. I kind of like the idea of a Marcus Semien getting an MVP over a guy like Yordan Alvarez, even though they're both on stacked teams. Alvarez, like you said, he was a DH, didn't play the field. His numbers were great, but like they don't scream MVP to me.
If I can jump on you for a minute, David Ortiz didn't win the MVP. Right. I don't think he ever won an MVP. And I do think it is for that reason that he was the DH. But like at the same time, can I just ask, like, isn't DH a position? Isn't there something to be said of like, you only have one job, so you have to be good at it, versus you can have a bad day at the plate and still make up for it in the field if you have, a few assists and all clean plays. I mean, I feel like those DHs get a knock when I think what they do is equally impressive to an extent.
So Yordan Alvarez for the season played 41 games in left field. I mean, it's not much. He also only committed one error in that entire time. So we're knocking this guy for not playing the field. But in the 41 games that he played, he only committed one error.
We also don't know how many balls actually came to him in 41 games.
He had 53 chances in 41 games.
Oh, all right. I mean,
yeah.
For what that's worth.
I digress. Yeah. Ben, we're going to come to you, and this might be one of the guys that when we look back on the season, this was the coming out party for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. The guy almost fucked around and won the Triple Crown. 311 batting average, 401 on base percentage, good for a 1.002 OPS, 48 home runs, 111 RBIs, 123 runs scored in 161 games. He has missed one game in the last 2 seasons, including 2020 for what that's worth. He had 29 doubles. He had 86 walks to only 110 strikeouts. Ben Nisman, is this your choice for AL MVP?
That's a fair question, Joe. It's just those numbers are staggering. And I just wonder if some of the reasons that he's scoring that many runs, that he's driving in that many runs, is because he has Teoscar on his team. He has Semien on his team. He has Springer on his team. He has Bo Bichette on his team. He has Kevin Biggio on his team. He's got Lourdes Gurriel on his team. I respect the numbers. I'm not poo-pooing the numbers. I'm just saying he's on the Blue Jays. There are a lot of good freaking players on that team. So is he my MVP? No, he's not. But if he ends up getting the award, I'm not going, wait, what? Come on, this guy, I get it. I understand it. But for the reasons why I feel like he has a lot of support in that lineup, I have a hard time personally voting for him.
I understand that. And once we're finished introducing all of the players here that we discussed off air, we're going to pick our AL MVP. Jason, you get the final one here. And I mean, what can we say about Shohei Ohtani this year? What can we absolutely say about a guy who went and pitched? He just pitched to a 3.18 ERA, a 9-2 record, 130 innings with 156 strikeouts, gave up only 15 home runs. That's a good season in and of itself.
Oh yeah,
right. That's a good season in and of itself on the mound. But at the plate, he hit 257 with a 372 on-base percentage, good for a 965 OPS, 46 home runs, 100 RBIs, 103 runs scored, and 26 steals. This is a video game. This is a video game human right now. Talk to me about Shohei Ohtani, Jason.
Yeah, and it's for me, and I'm sure the voters, like, this is this is uncharted territory, right? We never had a guy to look to measure against on both sides of the ball like this. Not since Babe Ruth, right? So
even Babe Ruth didn't do it at the same time.
Right. So how do you measure the value of an MVP on both sides of the ball? Like we're in uncharted territory here, and it's hard. Look, he won. He was given the Historic Achievement Award because he undoubtedly had a historic season for what he did. It's truly incredible. We'll probably never see a season like this again.
To put this in perspective, he had a 9 WAR for the season. 9 wins above replacement. Nobody else in the league even had an 8. He's the only player to have a 9 WAR this season. The next would be Zach Wheeler at 7.8. More on him later. Look, we've introduced all of the guys we could think of that are deserving. I'll start with me. When you see something you've never seen before, you need to point to it and go, that is impressive. And a guy hitting 45 home runs and stealing 25 bases, it's not something we've never seen before, but it is certainly an albatross or a unicorn in itself. When you say that guy also throws to an ERA around 3, forget it. He's also the only player on the Los Angeles Angels this year that was worth anything. Mike Trout missed the entire season. Anthony Rendon missed a lot of the season. About the only other player was like Jared Walsh, who played all year with Ohtani. And those guys didn't even get over 500. So it is difficult to say like, oh, I'm going to give it to a guy on a team that finished in 4th in their division and 8 games under 500. But again, without him, this is a 60-win team. Ben, where are you at?
I completely agree with most of what you're saying, Joe. We've never seen anything like this before. And the fact that he is able to drive in 100 and get over 100 runs is incredible with that lineup batting around him. So I acknowledge the greatness. Now, I do remember him having a boatload of strikeouts. Is that correct?
Yeah, he had close to 200 strikeouts on the season, 189 strikeouts to 96 walks.
Okay. I mean, 96 walks is still very impressive. Look, do I think he will win the MVP? My answer is yes. My vote, personally, is Rafael Devers.
Nice.
I think what Jason said was absolutely true. On the final day, this dude put the team on his back to get them into the playoffs. His numbers, getting over 100 RBIs on a team that was supposed to be in rebuilding. I understand Bogarts was very good. I understand JD Martinez was very good. This was a really, really good team. Verdugo was awesome. But this guy was the best player on the Boston Red Sox for a team that wasn't supposed to make it. They end up going to the wild card, winning the wild card. Whether they win the wild card once they're in the playoffs, that's what I'm basing it on. Yeah. So for me personally, who I would vote in is Devers, but I could certainly understand it being an Ohtani or a Vlad. And my assumption is that Ohtani wins that award.
Jason, who's your choice for AL MVP?
Yeah, I agree with Ben. I think it will be Ohtani, but my vote is to Vlad. Okay. Yeah, and it's tough because again, what Ohtani did was historic, but he won the Historic Achievement Award. He was given the Historic Achievement Award for his historic season. That will never be taken away from him. That will never be discounted. Like unreal. But most valuable player of the 2021 season can't be a guy that was on a team that finished in 4th place. I don't think. So I think it has to be Vlad. He was among the group of stars he played with. He was leaps and bounds the best player on that team. He almost won the Triple Crown. Mm-hmm. Led the league in on base, slugging, OPS, home runs, and he played first base. He played every game. It's Vlad for me.
Jason, can I interject?
Yeah.
The Toronto Blue Jays finished in 4th place this year.
Touche, my friend, touche. But point being, they at least we're.
They also won 91 games in
Yeah.
season.
Yeah,
No,
right?
no,
Like,
I know.
Fourth place in the AL East is a lot different than fourth place in the AL West. Let's face it.
Yeah.
You know,
20 games over 500 for the Toronto Blue Jays versus 8 games under 500 for the LA Angels. Like,
Definitely different.
big difference. Big difference in the fourth place.
And look, again, they had a star-studded lineup, no doubt. But look,
and they missed the playoffs by one game. Like, they would have been that wild card team.
They didn't have George Springer for much of the year.
Oh, sure.
And they were counting on that guy to be one of the stars, and he wasn't there. So, like, I feel like Vlad kind of helped pick up that slack.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah.
All right. So I've got Shohei Ohtani. Jason has Vlad Guerrero. Ben going with Rafael Devers. All three very deserving. I wouldn't be surprised if those were the 3 finalists. I'm sure Marcus Semien would be pretty upset if that were the case, but I rest my case. We're going to move on. We're going to move on to the NL MVP. This one, we only came up with 4 names. And you know what? It's okay. Let's start at the beginning. Ben, I know this is one of your favorite players in the major leagues. He's the second baseman for the World Series bound Atlanta Braves. Ozzie Albies this season, 259 batting average, 310 on base for a 799 OPS. 30 homers, 106 RBIs, 20 steals, 103 runs scored in 156 games. Ben Nisman, would you vote for Ozzie Albies?
It's hard not to, because when you look at that team and where they were pre-trade deadline, the fact that this guy was carrying quite a bit of the load, and Freddie Freeman had started his season very, very cold, the fact that Ozzie Albies batted out of the leadoff spot quite a bit and still manages 100 RBIs, like, how the hell is he doing that? You know, obviously he's capitalizing on the times that he wasn't leading off. And when he was bringing in the number 9 hitter, when it was a pitcher, or the number 8 when they get on base, maybe the number 7 when they get on base. I mean, my assumption is this guy had a lot of 2-out hits, a lot of 2-out RBIs. It's a stat that I think is very, very critical when we're talking about a most valuable player. Like, when do you come in the clutch? And it's my belief and in my memory that this guy was coming up with a lot of big hits during the season. So, yeah, he's a guy that I would consider. There are quite a couple of stars on the Atlanta Braves, but I can't deny his talent and how great he was this season.
I said before the season started that Ozzie Albies could end up being the best second baseman in baseball. He won't be. Our next guy is probably going to be one of those contenders for this. Jason, I will kick this one to you. His name is Trey Turner. He won the batting title with a 328 batting average, a 375 on base percentage, good for a 911 OPS. He hit 28 homers, drove in 77 RBIs, stole 32 bases, that led the NL. Had 107 runs scored, 195 hits, that led the majors in 148 games. And he was traded mid-season from a last-place team to a legendary second-place team. Is Trey Turner your MVP?
He definitely gets a vote. Absolutely. And the thing is, like, if you look at the splits, he was even better with the Dodgers, like, propelling them to the playoffs. So, I mean, the Dodgers absolutely won trade deadline day, and Trey Turner, like, had the season of his life right now. Like, yeah, that was just an amazing season. He would definitely get a vote for me.
He had never hit more than 19 home runs in a season before this year. He hit 28. He never drove in more than 73 runs in a season. He drove in 77. It's actually one of the worst stolen base totals in his career. The lowest, other than the 2020 season and the 2015 rookie season where he only had 40 at bats. So it's a bad stolen base season, but he is certainly catching up a lot more with the bat now rather than just his legs. He's an intriguing guy to talk about. Ben Nisman, we're going to talk about another intriguing guy here, a former MVP in his own right, and a guy that, without joking, probably sits very close to your heart this year as he helped you win the Bigs championship. Bryce Harper, 309 batting average, .429 on base percentage, an OPS of 1.044 on the season, 35 home runs, 84 RBIs, 13 steals, 42 doubles, led the majors, 101 runs scored in 141 games played. Ben, is this your guy?
Before I get to that, man, you go from two players whose teams had an unbelievable trade deadline. Jason said the Dodgers won it. To me, I think the Braves won it with Jock and Eddie Rosario and Jorge Soler. The list goes on. But then the Phillies, what do they bring in? Ian Kennedy? I mean, they needed a lot more. Kyle Gibson. They needed more help on the offensive side. I mean, they had guys like Brad Miller helping carrying them, right? At a certain point. So obviously, yes, now this enemy has become a friend forever in my heart just because of what I will think of when I think of Bryce Harper, and that's winning a Bigs championship the way I won it, and this guy being a big part of it with his unbelievable on-base percentage and walk to strikeout ratio. He did everything for my team to warrant MVP, but it's tough for me to same way that we were talking about how I would pick a Devers over an Ohtani. It's the same conversation here. I mean, the team did not make the playoffs. Not only did they not make the playoffs, there were only a couple of games over 500. And you know what? When they had that big series in the final week against the Braves, they got swept. And this guy was doo-doo through those 3 games, man. I believe he had one. I think he went 1 for 13, if I'm not mistaken, in that series against the Braves. When you're an MVP, you bring your best game when it matters the most. And this series against the Braves was the pinnacle, most crucial series of their season. He laid a big fat egg. So did the Phillies. So for me, no, I would not vote him in.
September 28th, 29th, and 30th is the series that Benjamin is talking about here. Bryce Harper on that series. 0 for 12 with a run. I'm sorry. 0 for 11 with a run, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. That's it. That's it. It's a shame. It's a shame. And that's when you needed that guy to step up, much like Devers did for the Red Sox, like Ben mentioned. So that brings us to the last guy that we talked about. Jason, this one is all yours. His team finished under 500. His team finished in 3rd place in the NL West. His team was a big fat disappointment. And yet, Fernando Tatis Jr., 282 batting average, 364 on base, good for a 975 OPS, 42 home runs, 97 RBIs, 25 steals, 99 runs scored in only 130 games. Where are they if Tatis plays another 26 or so games?
Yeah, this is the curious case of Fernando Tatis, right? Because, yeah, great numbers, but like not a full season. But also, and what I look at also is he came back and he played in the outfield. he went and played center field and played right field for them, because they needed him to, and to me that speaks something too. Obviously, the strikeouts and the errors, are, a big part of his game, but that's a big part of everyone's game. I feel like, the strikeouts and look, he had a 611 slugging percentage. He had an amazing year, and look, he was hurt, but when he was on the field, he played.
He's my pick. I'll say that much, and I guess we'll just get to this. The Padres are so terrible without Fernando Tatis Jr., and if they were able to have him fully healthy for a good, call it 150 games, just give him 20 more games on the season, we're probably talking about 45 home runs. We're definitely talking about 100 runs. We're definitely talking about 100 RBIs. Maybe he gets to 30 steals and goes 45-30 with 100 and 100 and a 280 batting average. And he's 22 years old. Give me this dude for a very, very long time. There's a reason I have a shirt of his hanging in my closet. Ben Nisman, who is your choice for NL MVP?
With all due respect to this man, and honestly, the numbers are incredible based on how many games he played. I don't think even with him having those 30 extra games or whatever, Joe, I don't think this team is still making the playoffs. I really don't. I mean, you'd still need to do what, like, for how many games the Dodgers won, for how many games the Giants won. So maybe they would have been able to beat out the Cardinals. I don't know. Obviously we'll never know. Maybe that changes how the Cardinals play and they don't win 17 games in a row or whatever they did. But again, same conversation as last time. They didn't make the playoffs. I can't vote them in. For me, I believe that Trey Turner is the MVP, wins the batting title, has the most hits in the majors, just absolutely made it official that the Dodgers were going to make the playoffs if it wasn't already. And when I look at the Dodgers this year, with Bellinger batting 219 or whatever, and their best player was basically Muncy, which was out of nowhere, the guy that swings at less pitches than any other player in the major leagues. This guy stepped it up. Justin Turner didn't have a Justin Turner expected year. Mookie Betts, we can make the argument that he didn't have a Mookie Betts kind of year. This is a star-studded cast, but I mean, again, like a guy like AJ Pollock, who he's a consistent player. He's not playing up to what he was paid to be on the Dodgers. So, in general, I feel like this was a Dodgers team where their individuals were expected to do much more than they were supposed to, and much more than they did. And Trey Turner came in and he stayed consistent. He was horrendous in the postseason, but in general, I feel like this was the best player on the Dodgers, and I can't ignore the fact that he was a batting champion and he had the most hits of anybody in the majors.
Cody Bellinger hit 165 on the season for what that.
I said 219.
He said 219. You gave him another 50 batting points. Like, he was atrocious this year.
It's crazy.
Jason, who's your MVP of the NL this year?
I tell you what, I've been flipping a three-headed coin even just while we've been talking here, and I'm still not 100% settled on it, but I'm tend to agree with Ben here. I'm going with Trey Turner, and for all the reasons you said, he literally came into Los Angeles and helped this team with all their struggling stars and kept them afloat. I mean, look, they had 106 win season, which normally would be the best team in baseball except for the Giants, but he was a big part of that. And he was a complete package. 195 hits, 32 stolen bases, 28 home runs. Like, he did everything for a winning team. So yeah, for me, it's Trey Turner.
Before we started this show, I had Fernando Tatis Jr. as my NL MVP. I'm going to stick with it. I still think that this is who this is going to be. 42 home runs in 130 games. Like, that's George Springer numbers. That's some ridiculous stuff. 97 RBIs, 99 runs scored in 130 games. Trey Turner had 18 more games and had 8 more runs scored. He had 7 more stolen bases. Like, those are the only, and a better batting average. Like, I will never say that Fernando Tatis Jr. would have ever caught him in batting average, but their on base percentages are very similar, 364 to 375. That's still pretty damn close.
Right, but I think that's even more impressive for Trey Turner, that he was able to sustain that over many more games. Same with the batting average.
He's also got a much better lineup protecting him than the Padres gave Tatis this year. Tatis was all over the lineup. He wasn't necessarily their leadoff hitter all the time, right? Like, especially when Adam Frazier came over. That being said, without Fernando Tatis, the Padres are nowhere near the playoff picture. Without Trey Turner, the Dodgers were still succeeding and were still pacing the Giants for much of the season. Granted, He got them within one game of the division title, and I think if they win the division, it's a different story because I think the Giants get past, and then we have that different dynamic.
Sure.
Regardless, for me it's Tatis. For you guys, it's Turner. I'm actually kind of shocked Bryce Harper doesn't get any love here, but I think it goes to us being Mets fans and fuck that guy.
He was a third side of my coin. It's one of the three of them, and I can't pick Bryce Harper. So
very well. We will move on and we'll move away from hitters for a little bit here, and we're going to talk about Cy Young awards, and we're going to go to the AL where it's a 3-horse race for us. And Ben, I'm going to give you the first one here. He's the ace of the New York Yankees. It's Garrett Cole. On the season, 181 and a third innings, a 3.23 ERA, 16-8 on the record with 243 strikeouts. The Yankees made the playoffs. Would you vote for? Is this your Cy Young Award winner?
Well, we're gonna have to see how his numbers compare. I feel like he would be a lock if the numbers didn't start to dip after we found out about Spider Tack.
Yes.
So I feel like it's a runaway, and now it's a much closer race. But still, it might end up going to him after we have a further discussion on it.
So you bring up an interesting point about the Spider Tag, and I'm just going to break down his monthly numbers here, and we can try to read into that what we will, because if you don't remember when Spider Tag was outlawed, let's just use Garrett Cole as the opinion here, right? He had where is the things I want? All right, so he faced 135 batters in April and March. Why does this not work? Here we go. A 1.43 ERA in April and March with a 4-1 record, 62 strikeouts to 37 2/3 innings pitched. In May, a 2.18 ERA, a 2-1 record, 33 innings, 35 strikeouts. In June, a 4.65 ERA, 2-2 record, 31 innings, 32 strikeouts. In July, a 4.71 ERA, 2 wins, 2 losses, 28 2/3, 47 strikeouts across 28 2/3 innings. In August, 3-0 record, an 0.51 ERA, a 17 2/3 innings, 24 strikeouts. And finally, in September and October, a 5.13 ERA, 3-2 record, 33 1/3, 43 strikeouts. Something happened after May the 30th as to what happened in the 3 of the final 4 months of the season. He wasn't very good.
Sure, but that August was
it's only 17 innings. It's only 17 innings. It's only 2 baseball games.
But 1 run?
Yeah. Can somebody have 2 really good starts in a row? Yes. Could he have 3 6-inning?
Hey, he only pitched 2 games in August.
He pitched 3 games in August.
That's surprising.
Yeah, he missed time.
He missed time. Okay. Yeah.
Let's take a look at August specifically. Yeah, only 3 games in August. It was August 16th, 21st, and 27th. So he missed the first half of August.
Okay.
5 2/3 against the Angels at home. 6 innings shutout against the Minnesota Twins, and 6 innings shutout in Oakland. That's not impressive, man. That's 2. It's a last place team, a 4th place team, and you're playing in Oakland. It's not good enough for me.
Okay.
Jason, we'll go to you for the next guy. This is the guy who I personally will be choosing for the AL Cy Young. And it's a guy who I never in my life thought I would see in this position, because before I think the 2020 season started, was a guy who I said, I'm not touching this guy. He's garbage. He has a very big walk problem. He still has the walk problem, but he had a really good season. It's Robbie Ray. 2.84 ERA on the season, 13-7, 193 1/3 innings pitched, 248 strikeouts, and a whip of 1.05. Jason, where you at on Robbie Ray?
He's the guy. He's the guy. Yeah, he's the guy. I would have considered Cole more, but that second half of the season was just not good. Robbie Ray was steady all year long. Like if you do the same monthly breakdown that you did with Garrett Cole,
I will.
There's no discrepancies.
So Robbie Ray, let's see, 1-1 in April and March. He threw 4 games, 22 and 2/3 innings, 20 strikeouts, a 2.78 ERA. In May, a 4.60 ERA, 1-1, 40 strikeouts to 29 and a third. June, 2.86 ERA across 6 starts, 53 strikeouts to 34 and 2/3 innings. July, a 1.99 ERA in 5 starts, 31 and 2/3 with 37 strikeouts and a 3-2 record. August, 1.76 ERA, 41 innings, 52 strikeouts, a 1-0 record. September and October, 3.44 ERA, 34 innings, 46 strikeouts. This is the guy.
More consistent, more consistent across the board.
Yep.
Yeah, I really don't think that there's much of a debate.
Ben, I'll give you the last guy here. It's the guy we threw in right at the end here, Lance Lynn, who for a period of time was leading the AL in ERA. Finishes the season with a 2.69 ERA, 11-6, 157 innings, 176 strikeouts, and a whip of 107. He's certainly the White Sox best pitcher. Where's he at?
Well, the whip is incredibly impressive. The big question is that innings. Did he miss time?
He did.
Yeah.
He did. If we go by the same game logs here, he missed time early. Looks like he missed from April 15th to May 1st, so that's a good 2 weeks there. But was good the whole rest of it, and missed some time in early September. He missed,
Okay.
I think, a start in September.
Okay.
He had, how many starts did he have this year? He had 28 starts. Usually good for about 32 to
34.
33. Yeah.
If you're the ace, you maybe 34 to 35.
Yeah.
And you go every start. It's pretty good numbers, man. I mean, this it's a lot closer of a race than I think. But at the end of the day, I feel like Robbie Ray's consistency over his innings, like the fact that he was basically pitching every single time it was his turn. It seems like it's his to lose.
And also, just real quick on Ray, he pitched in the AL East, right? He was facing the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Rays. You know, a good amount of time. So yeah.
I wonder what his splits were against that particular team.
I'd also like to see that trade that the Baltimore Orioles and I think it was the Arizona Diamondbacks deal, like when he was like really, really, really young. Like that first, it was like a 3-way. It was like a 3-way deal, 3-team deal.
Let's see, Robbie Ray transactions. It's December 5th, 2014. 3-team trade by the Tigers, the Yankees, and the Diamondbacks. The Tigers, he was traded from the Tigers with Domingo Leyba to the Diamondbacks. The Yankees send Shane Green to the Tigers, and the Diamondbacks send Didi Gregorius to the Yankees.
Interesting.
Yep. And then was traded August 31st, 2020 by the Diamondbacks with cash to the Toronto Blue Jays for longtime great Arizona Diamondback Travis Bergen.
What?
Yes, Travis Bergen. It's Robbie Ray. It's got to be Robbie Ray. I certainly agree with both of you that this is his to lose. And this might be the only unanimous award we have between the three of us.
Probably.
Let's dive right into the NL Cy Young. Jason, we'll start with you. This one hurts. This one hurts a lot. It's going to be Zach Wheeler.
Yeah.
Former Met Zach Wheeler. And in his first full season with the Philadelphia Phillies, goes 213 and a third innings, 2.78 ERA, a 14-10 win-loss record, 247 strikeouts. And a whip of 101.
Yeah, that that hurts. That's the way to put it. And for a while, to me, he was a runaway for me. He did have kind of that rough stretch late in the season. I think it was in like August, September, somewhere around there, where he kind of hit some hurdles, and that may have hurt him a little bit. I'm looking at it now. He had a 4.81 ERA in August over 6 starts. So, right. Yeah, to me that may have. But even when you factor that in, he still had just an incredible season.
Yeah, he had an incredible year. The numbers will speak for themselves. Having 213 innings in an era where nobody was going 200 innings, like,
yep,
this is impressive. It's incredibly impressive. 3 complete games, two shutouts. Benjamin.
Gentlemen, I want to ask your personal opinion on this Mets question. I could think of, and I'm sure you guys could think of more, but I could think of 5 specific mishandlings by the Mets organization over the time that at least we've been fans, right? And I want to ask you guys which one you feel like the worst one. And I'll even try to go in order of when they happened.
Okay.
Trading Jeff Kent away for Carlos Baerga.
Pretty bad.
Trading Scott Kazmir for Victor Zambrano.
I think that might be number 5 when all is said and done.
Okay, fine. Actually, I even think I've thought of a 6th one. But non-tendering Justin Turner.
That's pretty bad.
Not signing Daniel Murphy.
That might be number 4. Keep going.
Okay. The most recent that I think still we got to see, but Jared Kelenic for Cano and Edwin Diaz.
To be determined.
Time, right? To be determined. And finally,
Zach Wheeler.
Not signing Zach Wheeler.
If Zach Wheeler wins this Cy Young, it's probably number 1. Like,
really?
For immediate punch in the face from, like, he goes A, to a division rival, B, for like what we probably would have been paying Marcus Stroman anyway. Like, 3, it's still a fucking division rival to the Phillies. Like, Kazmir was dreadful at the time, but in reality, I don't think it was that big a deal. Like, he had a nice couple of years for Tampa, but he didn't really pan out the way we thought he would.
Right.
Jeff Kent for Carlos Baerga, that one fucking stings. Jason?
I was at the game when when they plastered it on the scoreboard that the Mets had traded Jeff Kent and Jose Vizcaíno for Carlos Baerga and Alvaro Espinosa. I was probably 12 years old or something like that, and I went, "What? What just happened?"
Yeah,
we traded away a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to, and that's why that one sticks out so hard.
The non-tendering of Justin Turner bothers you.
It does.
Yeah.
Because he was so good in the postseason. Like, if we don't do that, like,
and for that, we didn't get jack shit for that.
No,
at least we got Carlos Baerga. At least
we just got egg on our face for that one. This one could be the worst. It really could be, especially if he puts together like a really good run of years here.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a career 3.51 ERA.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, he's good, and if he wins this Cy, he's going to be very good. Jason,
it's just now the fact that the pitching now for the Mets is so thin, it looks worse because they thought that they had their pitching figured out, right? Because Steven Matz was still going to be on the team when they decided not to sign Zach Wheeler. We needed that guy, right? So, like, it seemed like they weren't prepared for the worst case scenario when they decided not to sign him.
And for what it's worth, that was like the final offseason of the Wilpons regime. Yeah. So, like, maybe that's a kick in the balls on their way out the door. You know? I digress. Let's move on. Jason, you're up next with the next candidate here. He's a guy that
I thought I was up next.
Yes.
Yeah, you had Zach. You had Zach.
Wheeler.
So yes, you're up next, Ben. You're up next with this guy. It's a guy who just 3 years ago was pitching to a 4.68 ERA and an 11-12 record for a terrible Baltimore team. He goes to Atlanta and has a pretty good run there. before finally landing here in San Francisco as the ace of the Giants on a qualifying offer for this year. He's a free agent now. His name is Kevin Gossman. 192 innings, 227 strikeouts, a 14-6 record with a 281 ERA and a 1.04 WHIP. Benjamin, does he get a vote from you?
Yeah, I feel like he does, especially because I look at that San Francisco Giants offense that, what are we expecting from that group of guys? I wasn't expecting much. I certainly wasn't expecting over 100 wins. I do believe that they did give him run support, and the San Francisco Giants was the number one team in bullpen ERA this year. So a lot of those wins that he got was because the rest of the bullpen did the job, but he put himself in the position to get those wins. And that's almost what it's you said 14-6, right?
14-6 on the season with a 281
right, so
ERA.
It's over a 2-1 win to loss ratio, almost 200 innings. This guy basically came out of nowhere last year, and for me, he gets a vote.
All right. Jason Ashby, you're up on the next one. For much the same reason that you guys picked Trey Turner for your MVP, this might be the answer here. It's Max Scherzer. Are we forgetting that Max Scherzer, across both his time with Washington and the Dodgers, 179 and a third innings, 236 strikeouts, a 15-4 record. All 4 losses came with Washington. He was 7-0 with the Dodgers. Overall, a 2.46 ERA on the season, but with the Dodgers in 68 innings, it was a 1.98 ERA. Overall, his WHIP, a 0.86 WHIP on the season. Jason, tell me about Max Scherzer.
Yeah, man. Just when you think, because he had a rough July, and even with the Dodgers, I was at his start against the Rockies here, and he wasn't good. I don't even know if he made it 5 innings, and he got beat up by the Rockies in September. At the end of the season, when he he's always been known to be the guy who put the pedal to the metal, the last week of the season, and he wasn't doing it. But on the whole, that season is incredible. It's a very Max Scherzer season, and he's 37 years old, 38 years old, whatever he is. He's up there, and he's still putting up numbers like he's doing. It's truly remarkable.
He is currently 37 years old, turned 37 last month. His only bad month was July. You mentioned it. It's a 5.16 ERA in 22 2/3 innings and 28 strikeouts. I'll pull up the game log and we'll run through just that month and recognize that the whole rest of the time he had an ERA near or below 2. In July, a 6-inning start against the LA Dodgers at home in Washington, 6 innings, 1 earned. In San Diego, July 8th, 3 2/3, 7 earned, 7 strikeouts. Against San Diego at home in Washington, 7 innings, 4 earned, and finished out the month, July 29th, in Philadelphia for Washington, 6 innings, 1 earned. It's literally 2 bad starts.
Yeah. The Padres.
All season. It's 2 bad starts.
Yeah.
I love the guy. And he's certainly gonna garner some votes. Ben Nisman.
Oh, absolutely.
Next one for you. We're gonna talk about a guy whose team made the playoffs. He's the ace of the staff, but he didn't win a whole lot of games. 179 and a third innings, 211 strikeouts, a 9-10 record, a 2.56 ERA, and an 0.97 WHIP. His name is Brandon Woodruff. Ben.
Not shocked by the under 500 record. Certainly doesn't turn me off to voting for him. I believe that WHIP is insane, even next to a guy like Max Scherzer. Do I think he gets this award? No, I do not. I feel like the committee will acknowledge that other pitchers, they were at least better on the win to loss record. So I'm stunned by the season he had, especially because I thought that Milwaukee Brewers was one of the most overachieving offenses I've ever seen win a division. And when you look back at the Milwaukee Brewers season in 2021, you're not even going to think about the offensive pieces. You're going to think about him. You're going to think about Burns. You're going to think about Devin Williams. You're going to think about their bullpen that was solid. But I mean, this guy was the ace, and this guy was the guy that really brought them there.
I disagree with you that this was the ace of the 2021 Milwaukee Brewers because, Jason, we're going to talk about Corbin Burns now.
Yeah.
This guy had one of the most remarkable seasons I've ever heard of. 167 innings, 234 strikeouts, a 0.94 whip, a 2.43 ERA, 11-5 on the season, 167 innings. This is my pick. This is my guy. I love this dude. That strikeout rate is disgusting.
Yeah. And 34 walks.
Yeah. Only 34 walks on a season and only 7 homers on the season in 167 innings.
You compare that to a guy like Robbie Ray, his bugaboo are walks and home runs.
Mm-hmm.
Burns looks like he's coming out smelling like a flower.
He looks amazing.
The only thing that I could see is, if him and Woodruff are, sharing votes, if that could be a way that it sneaks out. But
I don't know, because that didn't matter with Verlander and Cole. Like you see that a lot, or like I'm sure there were plenty of years where like Maddox and Glavine and Smoltz were basically the three that would win it for how many years in a row. So I don't know if that makes a big difference. I do think the inning total though is a little bit shy of what the committee might like.
And here's the thing. Corbin Burns had never pitched more than 59 2/3 innings at this level before that. So for him to go 167, I didn't think he would even get that much. I thought he'd cap at like 140 or 130. To get to 167, like 28 starts. I'll take it. We're going to talk about 2 Dodgers here to finish out the nominations, and then we'll make our picks. Ben Nisman. This one's the new Dodgers ace, and he really, really proved it this season. 207 2/3 innings pitched, a 2.47 ERA with an 0.97 whip, 212 strikeouts, a 16-4 record. His name's Walker Buehler.
Man, this is a very, very tough conversation. I mean, there were a lot of good pitchers with pretty similar numbers. And the fact that he's another guy that goes under 1 whip. It's, basically 1-to-1 strikeout to inning ratio, basically. Very impressive win to loss record, very impressive ERA. I don't know, like, was he better than Scherzer this year? Like, was he not? Like, it's such a hard call, man. This is probably one of the hardest decisions and picks that I'll have to make for the show.
Yeah, no doubt. And Buehler, for all intents and purposes, he's now the Dodgers ace. Like, we don't know what's going to happen with Kershaw. We don't know what's going to happen with Scherzer. Mm-hmm. We don't know where these guys are going to land. And there's still yet one more Dodger pitcher to talk about. Jason, let's talk about Julio, not the closer, Urias, who did not close a single game for the Dodgers this year. Threw 185 2/3 innings, had 195 strikeouts, a whip of 1.02, 20 wins, and 3 losses with a 2.96 ERA. The 20 wins led the majors, and that's a hell of a number.
It absolutely is. And I remember Mike Haber constantly talking this guy up, and I kept going, really? Like, I did not, I admit I was not following this guy's season, but I had no idea that he was approaching 20 wins and a sub-3 ERA. Like, amazing, absolutely amazing. And that's gonna make this pick even so much harder. Like, you throw a guy like this guy in, who, like you said, was going to be a closer when the season began, and now all of a sudden he's got 20 wins and 200 strikeouts. Like, what?
Yeah, we heard rumors that he would be the closer over Kenley Jansen. That never, ever, ever came to fruition. I will say that he didn't lose a game after June 21st this year. That's not a rib. That's like legitimate. He didn't lose a game in July, August, or September, or October. What?
And he pitched, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like he didn't miss time. How many innings did he throw?
185. 185 and
185
2/3. He started 32 games. It's exactly what you would expect from a starter.
Yeah.
His shortest outing on the season was 4 innings, 6 earned runs on June the 21st in San Diego. Everything else, 5 innings or more. He had 2 starts with 6 earned runs, that one I talked about, and then one against the Giants in May. Everything else, 4 earned runs or fewer. This guy's pretty damn good. It's time to make decisions. I already told you I'm going with Corbin Burnes because of the strikeout rate. That always gets me hard is when I do have a guy who can strike out like 12 and a half dudes per 9. That's disgusting. That does make my penis wiggle. Ben Nisman, who makes your penis wiggle for the NL Cy Young?
Well, he certainly doesn't do that because I had to watch him throw a no-hitter against my team live. I believe that was in 2016. But the whip is so damn impressive. And the fact that he was great on the Nationals, even despite how bad they were. Then he comes over to the Dodgers and he never loses a game for the Dodgers. I get that Urias basically did it over the same span, but I think they're just going to go to the guy that's the favorable, more popular player nationally, and that's Max Scherzer.
Jason, I've got Corbin Burnes. Ben has Max Scherzer. Where are you going?
This one is so tough. I really want to pick Burnes. But this burns because I'm going to go with Zach Wheeler. I think,
wow.
I think he led the league in innings. So he was a workhorse. The complete games, the shutouts, and just great numbers all around. I could see him winning it absolutely. Any of these guys, I think could walk away with it. But I'm going with Zach Wheeler.
This is an insane race for this award.
Yeah, it absolutely
I don't even know who the 3 finalists would be. Like, I think I could see Corbin Burnes finishing 7th out of this race. Like,
that's right.
You know what I mean? Like, Julio Urias could win this thing, and we could all go, yeah, that makes sense. He won 20 games and had an ERA under 3. Like, that makes sense too. It's a wide open race. It'll be interesting to see where we go from here. Now, some fun talk. We're going to talk about rookies. We're going to talk about rookies, and we're going to start in the American League. We're going to start with a guy who made a name for himself about this time last year. He's the guy who holds the record for most postseason home runs in one postseason and is still a rookie this year. His name is Randy Arozarena. Ben, I will start with you on this one. He finishes the year a .274 batting average, a .356 on-base percentage for an .815 OPS. He played in 141 games. He scored 94 runs. He hit 32 doubles. He hit 20 homers, drove in 69 RBIs, and stole 20 bags. Would you vote for him?
Well, I guess it's going to come down to who's up against them, but they're great numbers because he fills up the stat sheet. It's not necessarily superb in one particular category, and I think that might be what knocks him out. The fact that there might be a guy in this group that's just amazing at one specific thing, where he's adequate or very good in a lot. I mean, he's not really a power hitter. We know that. Though on the Tampa Bay Rays, besides Brandon Lau, it's a bunch of pesky hitters, and that's how they do their damage. And I think that's commendable. I think that's a great way to just single opponents to death. So just double opponents to death and not necessarily have to beat you with the long ball. He doesn't have to do that, but the 20 bags I like a lot. The fact that he's near 100 runs I like a lot. It means he was getting, like you said, over 350 on base. he's obviously a great player and a guy that's going to be staying around for a while, but I'm not exactly sure that it'll garner giving him this award.
Okay. Look, I like the guy, and he was drafted in the 4th or 5th round of the Bigs this year after that postseason, and we all kind of thought that was right, but we all kind of thought that was a bit early. But look, he went 2020, and he scored almost 100 runs and batted .275. I don't think you need to ask a whole lot more of somebody in that range. So it's not the worst thing in the world. 170 strikeouts certainly doesn't feel very good, though. Jason, we're going to move over to you. I'm going to give you a different one here. This is a pitcher, and it's a pitcher who's really proving himself here in October. It's Luis Garcia of the Houston Astros. He threw 155 and a third innings to 167 strikeouts, had a whip of 1.17, a 3.30 ERA, and 11-8 record. Is he going to get it?
Man, you sure you're looking at the right Luis Garcia, right? Because there's 100 of them.
Yes.
But yeah, he could definitely get it. Look, he's a rookie pitcher pitching for a team that's playing in the World Series right now. Like, and he's still going, and he's still going strong.
He's their third best pitcher right now, right? Like, forget the McCullers injury for a minute. Like, that team has rostered McCullers. Framber Valdez is better than him, but then it's him, right?
Him, I mean, Zach Greinke's right there.
Right.
Like, yeah. But like, he's still really good. Like,
What does this guy remind you of? Like, what is a good comp for this kid? Where do you see?
I've never seen anyone do a rock the baby before they pitch, though. You know, like, it's pretty unique.
It is a very unique windup that he has. I mean, for me, look, I look at this guy, and he's a right-handed. He's not a power pitcher. He's much more a finesse guy. Coming off of this. Could I see him be something like Marcus Stroman in years to come? Sure.
Yeah. I think, and we'll get to them, I think there'll be other guys that I'm more apt to vote for before this guy.
Okay, fair enough. Ben Nisman. I've got a guy that you are very, very familiar with. He batted .243 this season. He had a .286 on-base percentage for an OPS of .741. He played 149 games. He scored 77 runs. He hit 26 doubles. He hit 31 home runs, drove in 90 RBIs, and stole 16 bases. His name is Adolis Garcia. Will you vote for this guy, or is he just another sentimental type guy?
From one Garcia to another Garcia.
Yep.
Well, I gotta tell you, man, I'll always remember what he did to help bring me to a point where I was going to get the bye, and I don't get the bye, an automatic semifinal appearance without this man playing for my team. The power is incredible. I mean, I've never seen a guy that looks like he mishits the ball, goes the other way, and hits it out in Oakland, you know, and I saw him do that a ton of times. So when it looks like he gets a hold of it, it looks like it's going to the next sitting. So in the power department, even though it's, 31 home runs, it's not closer to 40, but still on a Texas team that was pretty bad. And he didn't get a ton of protection. My biggest problem with him is that the on-base percentage is under 300?
286.
I mean, that's awful. That's just awful. And the batting average wouldn't bother me so much if the on-base percentage was at least 30%. Mm-hmm. I mean, I get that he didn't have a lot of protection in the lineup, but you got to be walking more. This guy didn't really do it. The guy struck out a zillion times.
194. It's not a zillion.
Okay, fine. Not a zillion and not a trillion.
But it was a lot.
It was almost 200. It was so bad.
Half a zillion.
Half a zillion.
Yeah, it was very bad. 194 strikeouts, only 32 walks on the season. Oh. And he had a really great May where he hit 11 home runs, drove in 27 RBIs, hit 312. But everything else, he hit 242 or worse every other month of the season. Every other month of the season, he had a 286 on base percentage or worse.
Ugh.
And when you look at his final 3 months, July, August, and September, with October sprinkled in, 216 batting average, 227 batting average, 212 batting average in the final 3 months. Just doesn't do it for me.
Joe, you called it, man, because when this guy was hot, I feel like you were the one that said, I don't see it. I think those numbers are going to drop. I don't know if you expected them to drop this substantially, but you saw a significant drop. So yeah. I give you a lot of credit in acknowledging that I don't care what he's doing right now. Like, I see a dip coming.
Yeah. And it was very obvious. Could I see him come out next year and improve on these numbers? Yeah, I could. If Texas goes out and gets him some protection, I could also see him bottoming out and hitting 211 next year like Rougned Odor.
Yeah.
Right.
Jason, we'll move on to you, and I know you like this guy. He is a first baseman and left fielder. He played in 144 games this year. 255 batting average, 309 on base percentage, good for a 796 OPS. He hit 33 home runs. He drove in 89 runs. He chipped in 4 steals and scored 77 runs. His name is Ryan Mountcastle of the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, and this guy, it's funny because he did garner Rookie of the Year votes last year. He finished eighth in the ballot last year. But he still hangs on to his rookie criteria. Yeah, the guy, and playing on a really lousy Baltimore team, how easily does it get lost? Like, you forget about Ryan Mountcastle hit 33 home runs, and scored 77 runs on a shitty Orioles team. So yeah, this guy deserves credit. He deserves votes, and I think he's gonna be among the finalists for sure.
I think so too. And we forget for a minute, he hit 30 bombs. Cedric Mullins hit 30 bombs. Trey Mancini was pretty good. Like, we've seen good seasons out of Baltimore Orioles players in years past.
Yeah.
We just don't see any pitchers ever be worth a damn. So that's really what it boils down to. They've got to find some pitching in order for Baltimore to compete anymore. I love Ryan Mountcastle. I think he's going to be terrific for years to come. Ben Nisman, back over to you on this one. And we're going to go to the bullpen because we know Ben Nisman loves his bullpen. We've got a guy who had 24 saves across 69 and 2/3 innings, 74 strikeouts, a whip of 0.962, an ERA of 1.29. He won 4 games. He lost 5 games. Who cares? He's a bullpen pitcher. His name is Emmanuel Clase of the Cleveland Guardians.
So they settled that lawsuit already, huh?
I guess.
No, they might not get that name.
The Cleveland something.
How about just the tribe? How about just like the Cleveland tribe? Is that still not good enough? Is that still offensive?
What's wrong with the Cleveland Spiders? Which is what they were before, but they became the Indians.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Totally fine. I don't really have a problem with the Indians, but I guess there's a group of people that do. So
yeah.
We have
in any event, Emmanuel Clase.
In any event. Yeah, they're good numbers, Joe. I just feel like there's a couple of other guys that we mentioned previously that they're more standout numbers and more critical numbers that will help a team win more games down the stretch versus a closer necessarily.
I just feel like if you're going to give it to a reliever, and like they gave it to Devin Williams last year in a 60-game sprint. He was really good, but like, come on.
Bailey won it, right?
And like it can happen.
Yeah, we've seen it.
But you need to be a lockdown closer of a team that makes the playoffs. I think this guy is great, and I think he's going to be very good. It certainly makes the Corey Kluber trade look a whole lot better for Cleveland because this was the return.
Yep.
Solid move, but I don't think he's Rookie of the Year this year. Jason, that'll bring us to the last candidate we have. I personally love this guy. He landed on my fantasy team somewhere around mid-season, and I don't understand how. He went 123 1/3 innings. He struck out 141 guys, had a whip of 1.27, not great, but serviceable. He had a 3.43 ERA. He went 10-6 on the season. His name is Shane McClanahan of the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, and you talked about it many times. One of the few guys to actually throw 120 innings for the Rays, right? Nobody does that. But here's a rookie coming out of nowhere to throw 123 innings for the Rays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, impressive. 25 starts, 10 wins. The whip is a little high, the ERA is a little high, but he told the rubber, every fifth day once he got the call, and like you said, he was serviceable, and kind of really helped spearhead the Rays, into that playoff. So, yeah, he gets votes, absolutely.
Yeah, he's been terrific for the 2021 season. He was here most of the season. Just did not pitch all that many innings because the Rays do what the Rays do. Brings us to that point in the conversation, gentlemen, where we have to make a decision. Ben Nisman, I'll start with you. Your AL Rookie of the Year.
Okay. Before I give you my answer, I'd like you to get the numbers on a particular player, his Rookie of the Year season, so I can compare it.
Go for it.
That player's name is Jason Jennings. I believe the year was 2002 or 2000.
Nailed it.
Yeah, I think it's 2002.
Nailed it. 2002, Jason Jennings, 185 and a third innings, 127 strikeouts, a whip of 1.46. He had a 4.52 ERA, went 16-8 on the season, 32 starts.
Pitching for the Rockies.
Yeah, it just does not seem too good next to McClanahan or Luis Garcia, does
Nope.
it?
No, not at all.
Man. Well, initially I thought I was going to say Garcia, and then I heard McClanahan's numbers, and I'm like, wow, those are almost, that they're comparable as far as like you can say, well, this guy was better in whip, this guy was better in strike, this guy had more innings, so it's very difficult. So I'm going with Ryan Mountcastle. I think 30 plus dingers. Did he not hit for like the cycle at some point this season?
Yep.
For me, that guy was like a guy that every single time he was playing, he was, at least for an Orioles fan, must see TV.
Jason, is this going to be a clean sweep? Because I like Ryan Mountcastle to win this thing too.
I really do like Ryan Mountcastle, but I'm going to go a little contrarian here, and I'm going to go Emmanuel Clase. His numbers jump off the pages to me. Like, I know he's a closer for a shitty Cleveland team that didn't go nowhere, but I think when you're looking at Rookie of the Year, like that doesn't matter. I think for me, it's the numbers that matter more than what the team did as far as Rookie of the Year goes. And he was ridiculous. A 1.29 ERA, 24 saves for a lousy team. A whip under one. I like this kid. And kudos to Mike Haber for picking him up to anchor his bullpen over the season. Yeah, give me Clase.
All right. Ben and I like Mountcastle. Jason likes himself some Emmanuel Clase. We'll move on to the NL. We don't have as many rookies here that we can talk about, but let's start. I believe it's Jason we start with on this one. Dylan Carlson is the name, coming from St. Louis. Just another guy in the St. Louis farm system that just gets churned out and has a really serviceable season. 266 average, 343 on base, a 780 OPS, 18 homers, 65 RBIs, 79 runs scored in 149 games. To me, this is a really nice season, but I don't know if it's Rookie of the Year.
I don't think it's Rookie of the Year. I think it's the making of a guy who could be a stud for a lot of years. First round draft pick. This guy is going to hit in the heart of that order for a lot of years. But I don't think it's enough to win him Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I think this is. You know who this guy reminds me of? This will be a name you'll like. Ryan Ludwig.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ludwig was an RBI guy.
Yeah.
So this guy needs to be
but a solid season
90.
for him. A solid season for him in St. Louis. Let's go 150. Well, that was a really good year. I was going to give his 2008 number, but he hit 37 homers and drove in 113. But like, could that be the ceiling for a Dylan Carlson season?
I don't
think it
know.
could.
I don't know if he's. I don't know. I don't think he's that kind of power. I just don't. I think he's more of a batting average guy, and in some aspects, that's more dangerous.
Yeah.
Just have a guy that could just slap hits all the time and be pesky. I think that's sometimes better than your guy that's going to hit 36 but strike out 165, 70 times. So,
interestingly enough, Carlson struck out 152 times, did walk 57 times to get him to that 343 average. I think he's a great. I think he's a good player. Like, I think he's just a good everyday player. I don't think this garners you Rookie of the Year status. But like, when you've got this guy and Tyler O'Neill and Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado and like more dudes coming, this will be just fine.
Very good.
Ben Nisman, we're going to move on to you, and I'm going to give you a guy that I loved watching this year. It was smooth jazz Chisholm. He hit 248 this year, 303 on base percentage for good for a 728 OPS. He played in 124 games, scored 70 runs, 20 doubles, 18 home runs, 53 RBIs, 23 stolen bases. Jazz was really good, and I don't think anybody saw this coming. Like, 2020 was well within reach if he stayed healthy.
No, yeah. I mean, the fact that it's only 124 games and he's spitting out those numbers is impressive enough. Unfortunately, playing on a team that's poopy. But other than that, I feel like he's a standout player because plays pretty decently middle infield and athletic and like extremely athletic, and like you said, steals the bases, pesky hitter. Probably not my pick for Rookie of the Year, but just very good at filling out the stat sheet. Just
he also homered off Jacob deGrom, if I recall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
upper deck shot into the Coca-Cola corner. Like,
I think that was the only run that was given up that game. Like, I had 1-0. It was like first game of a doubleheader.
Jazz Chisholm is the only person to hit 2 home runs whose exit velocity was over 105 on pitches that were 100 miles an hour or harder. He did it twice this year, once against Jake DeGrom and once lefty off Jose Alvarado.
Wow.
Gnarly.
That's pretty good. That's good.
I love this kid. And you know what? Like, people are going to sleep on him again. People are going to sleep on him a lot. Like, he's going to be second base and shortstop eligible next year.
Yeah.
I tell you right now, if I get him in the 7th round, I'll be thrilled.
I mean, he does boot a few though, right, Joe?
He had 20. Yeah. He's got hands like feet because he's 23 years old. He committed 24 errors in.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a whole lot. 24 errors in like 476 chances. It's a lot. It's not great. But if that's the only knock you can have against him, like, he gets on base pretty decently. He can steal base. He has plenty of power to spare. Like, just stay healthy. Just don't get those soft tissue injuries because we saw hamstrings with him all season. Jason Ashby, going to move over to you. And another Marlin here on the list as we move on to the mound. We're going to talk about Trevor Rogers. He only threw 133 innings this year, only made 25 starts, went 7-8, but had a 2.64 ERA with a 1.15 WHIP, 157 strikeouts over 133 innings.
Yeah, another guy that's going to get lost because he plays for a lousy Marlins team. But yeah, he put together an incredible season. The 133 innings. I know he missed time toward the end of the season with some dealing with some personal matters. So, he wasn't necessarily hurt. He was just out. But still, 157 strikeouts and 133 innings is
he missed
ridiculous.
The entire month of August.
Okay.
Right, and he missed what looks like a start. No, that's the All-Star break. So yeah, he just missed all of August. That's where they.
So that's like what? So that's about 6 starts.
3 or 4.
5 or 6 starts. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So at 6 innings, that's like another 30 innings.
30 innings. You'd get to 160.
Yeah. Look, 10.6 Ks per 9. Like that's impressive. His whip's a little high, but not terrible. he was an all-star. I mean, again, it's on the Marlins.
He was the only Marlins all-star.
So someone's got to do it, but he was certainly deserving, and he's deserving of Rookie of the Year votes. Absolutely.
All right. I like him because he's the third best pitcher on that team right now. And he's still like throwing to a 264 ERA. That's impressive. That's incredibly impressive. Ben Nisman, we're going to go to you and we're going to talk about a middle infield guy, another second baseman here on the list. First season in the league, played 150 games, scored 98 runs, hit 21 home runs, 69 RBIs, and 12 steals. A 269 batting average, a 376 on base percentage because he drew 71 walks to 141 strikeouts. He's the second baseman of the Cincinnati Reds. His name is Jonathan India. Tell me about him.
I'm just impressed by those numbers. I realized there was a lot of good Reds players like Castellanos and Votto that had terrific seasons, but this guy was one of them that was just setting the table and helping them score. And to me, this is a guy that definitely considers some votes.
Yeah, I'm with you 1,000% on this guy. I don't think that the Reds have a very good lineup without this guy because you'd be putting Mike Moustakas in that second base hole because you're playing Eugenio Suarez at third or potentially shortstop.
Sure.
And like, he came up as a third baseman. He went through the minor leagues as a third baseman. I watched him a bunch when he was in the minor leagues. And when he was playing, I was like, this dude's going to be so good. He's going to be so good. And here he is, 21 homers and 98 runs scored at the top of that lineup. If Castellanos doesn't opt out, they're probably good for that again next year.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. Jason, we're going to round out this 5-player group for the NL Rookie of the Year with you and a guy that you owned in the bigs for a period of time, helped you get a couple of wins this season. He had a 231 batting average, a 305 on base percentage, good for an 823 on base plus slugging. He hit 28 home runs, drove in 61 runs, scored 54, and only played 106 games. His name is Patrick Wisdom, the new third baseman of the Chicago Cubs. Ben looks confused because I don't think he knows who this guy is.
I know who he is. Well, I didn't know his on-base percentage was so bad, though.
Let's shed some wisdom on you, Ben. Yeah, Patrick Wisdom came out of freaking nowhere, right? And he's a rookie, but this is his fourth season in the bigs.
And he's 29.
And he's 29.
Wow.
So he doesn't fit the profile of a rookie, but he is. And what an amazing year he had. The Cubs fire. They let go of Rizzo, they let go of Baez, let go of Bryant.
This dude was playing while they were still on the team, though. They moved Bryant to the outfield to let this kid play.
Yeah, and that's why. This guy's play made him go, okay, yeah, we're okay to let him go. Look, he's 29, so I mean, who knows what his future holds as far as any more good seasons. But you can't deny, he had a really good season.
Yeah.
The 231 batting average isn't the best. Only 32 walks to 153 strikeouts. That's not great. Let's go around the horn here. Jason, I'm going to start with you. Where does the NL Rookie of the Year go?
I think it's hands down Jonathan India. I don't, as good seasons as Rogers and Chisholm and Carlson have had. I don't think anybody touches Jonathan India.
I'm with you on that. It's really hard to not say Trevor Rogers, though. I can't hold his win-loss record against him because that has a whole lot to do with the team. And since the team finished, by the way, not last in the NL East, but second to last in fourth place, I think having a 500 record speaks more to him than anything else. The 2.64 ERA is pretty damn solid. Coming into this, I had every intention of giving this to Jonathan India. I think I'm going to go Trevor Rogers here, though. Ben, be the tiebreaker. Where are we at with this?
How many games did Patrick Wisdom play?
106.
And he struck out over 150 times?
A lot.
Wow. Yeah. That's not so good. And by the way, the fact that he's 29 is actually intriguing to me because it's like, oh, cool. He's in his prime. He might be good for the next few years in his 30s. I'm going to lean towards my dear friend Jason Ashby here. I think it's going to be Jonathan India as well. I think and he was like a staple leadoff hitter, like of all the leadoff hitters in baseball, like he was, to me, one of the best ones to watch. And filled up the stat sheet, extremely impressive, definitely a starter next year. Sorry, I was going to say, hold that thought. The thing with Rogers that turned me off, no offense to him, but like missing a whole month did kind of turn me off a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I could respect that. Jason?
Yeah. Well, and to all respect to Trevor Rogers, because he absolutely deserves it. If Jonathan India wasn't in this class, it would absolutely be him, no question. He had an amazing year. The month he missed, to me, he wasn't injured, so I think I give him a little bit more credit for that, because he was dealing with personal shit, which, he's a human being, so that's allowed. But India just he like you said, as a staple leadoff batter, he was on base all the time. I remember the two series against the Mets, he just tore them up. Yeah, to me, it's India, no question.
I am looking for those two series against the Mets. Here I have found them. July 19th through July 21st, Jonathan India. He went 3 for 9 with 4 walks, a homer,
wow,
2 RBIs, a double, only 3 strikeouts, a 333 average, a 600 on base percentage, a 1.378 OPS against them in the first series.
He was on base every single time.
Yeah.
That was them. That was the series in Cincinnati. The series in Flushing, Queens, he goes 4 for 12 with 2 more walks, 2 homers, 3 RBIs, 2 doubles, 4 strikeouts, a 333 average,
500 on base,
467 on base percentage. I guess there might have been a sac fly. Yeah. And a 1,000 slugging percentage for a 1.467 OPS against the Mets.
Yeah.
Pain in the butt.
Yep, that is true. All right, let's move on to the guys calling the shots. We're going to talk about managers of the year.
And as we do this, Joe, I have breaking news.
Oh, no. What is it?
Bob Melvin is now the manager of the San Diego Padres. Yeah.
He's leaving the A's and going to the Padres.
For a 3-year contract.
Wow. So now Oakland needs a new guy. That's unexpected. That's pretty unexpected, because Bob Melvin, Bob Melvin's been a staple there. That's incredible.
Was manager of the year.
Yeah.
There was and there was talk about him coming to New York, with Billy B maybe, but no, he is going to San Diego.
He has been in Oakland since 2011. That is a 10-year span here. I'm sorry, 11-year span. He has gone 853 and 764. That's a 528 winning percentage. Just really couldn't get anything done in the playoffs, honestly.
No. Basically won 1 or 2 rounds. What year was the manager of the year? Was it 2013 or 2014?
14, right? I think.
Good question. Let's find out. Manager of the year. He's a 3-time manager of the year. 2007. That would have been with the Arizona Diamondbacks. 2012 with Oakland, and 2018 with Oakland.
2012.
Okay.
Yep.
2012. That's when they came out of nowhere to win that division on the final day against Texas.
2012 they went 94 and 68, and in 2018 they went 97 and 65. It's pretty damn impressive. And now he gets to head up Fernando Tatis Jr. and Yu Darvish and Blake Snell and Manny Machado. That's going to be a fun NL team to deal with. Great. Well, Bob Melvin is not on the list of AL managers of the year. We have 5 names here. 4 of them made the playoffs. 1 did not. We'll start with the one that did not. And we're going to start talking about the Seattle Mariners, who went 90-72, finished second in the AL West, and missed the playoffs, missed that second wild card by 1 game. I am personally nominating Scott Servais for Manager of the Year. Ben Nisman, we'll start with you. How do you feel about Scott Servais?
Yeah, I think it's a great argument, man. We have not seen the Seattle Mariners have a great season like this. I believe 2018 or 20, I think it was 2018, where they came very, very close, but failed in the last couple of games. If it was not 2018, then it was 2019. But
it was, in fact, 2018. They finished 89-73. Weren't anywhere near the playoff picture because the 2 wild cards were 97-65 and 162. But they were the next best team in the American League.
He's been great with them, and he's been able to get the most out of guys that we didn't really anticipate to be superstars. And I guess I wouldn't call J.P. Crawford that yet. But I remember when J.P. Crawford was a prospect for the Phillies. I believe it was the Phillies. Yep. And, it was just a name that was just getting thrown around. And then, oh, wow, this guy actually is pretty damn good. And there were a couple of guys like that. Mitch Haniger, you didn't really, he's had a pretty good season. I believe it was 2019 or 2018.
Mitch Haniger?
He had a crazy, yeah.
So Mitch Haniger had a crazy year this year. He had 39 homers and 100 RBIs. 2018, he had a very good year. Finished 11th in the MVP voting. 26 homers, 93 RBIs, a 285 batting average, 366 on base. Servais is in his 6th year. He is 438 and 432 in his managerial tenure with the Mariners. That's a 503 winning percentage. He just hasn't made the playoffs yet. And it seems like this team is trending in the right direction. I look at things like Chris Flexen coming over and all of a sudden being really good. Justice Sheffield was awful this year, but a lot of the guys that were good for Seattle were dudes you had never heard of or you had heard of, but they were terrible. Chris Flexen, Ty France. We've got J.P. Crawford's another great name. Even somebody like Tom Murphy, who was a really good backup, a good backup catcher. I mean, you've got to have somebody behind the plate, and they had a pretty decent one in him.
Kendall Graveman for when he was there,
Sure. Kyle Seager, another good year.
30 home runs and 100 RBIs from Kyle Seager. Actually, 35 and 100 from Kyle Seager this year. Flexen had a 3.61 ERA. Marco Gonzalez had 10 wins and a 3.96. The bullpen was really good.
Yeah.
Paul Sewald. Where the hell did that guy come from?
New York.
Yeah. So, Jason, we will move on to you. Next guy on the list. He's a very old name, does not have a ring for his tenure as a manager, did win a ring in 1981 as a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. His name is Dusty Baker. Tell me about Dusty Baker and his tenure with the Houston Astros.
Yeah, look, he came into this clubhouse. We know about it. He came into this clubhouse, last year with all of the craziness with, the scandal, AJ Hinch being fired. Oh, and they also have COVID and all the nonsense. But if it was anybody that was up to that challenge, it's Dusty Baker, right? I mean, the guy's been around forever. He's a class act, always with the toothpick in his mouth. It's Dusty Baker. And look, it sucks that it's with the Astros, but I hope that he finally gets us a ring, as a manager. I don't think there's anybody that's more deserving of it. And, he's a class act guy. So
in his 2 seasons with Houston, he is 124 and 98. One of them was last year where he went basically 500 at 29 and 31. 95 and 67 this year. He's brought every single team that he has managed at the bare minimum to a championship series. Except for Washington. He was only there for 2 years, but he still made the playoffs with those guys. So he's brought every team he's ever managed to the playoffs, and 4 of those teams to the championship series. Houston Astros to the World Series, the Giants to the World Series, and of course we know what he did with the Cubs in 2003.
Yeah.
He's been a tremendous manager. This is just another great year. This actually is third best in win totals. He won 103 games in 93 with the Giants and 97 games in 2000 with the Giants. Now 95 games with the Houston Astros. It's a great year.
Look, they dealt with the breakouts. I know a lot of teams did, but he was able to weather that because he's Dusty Baker. So
yeah. Ben, we'll switch over to you, and I've got another name. It's an old timer. It's a guy who's been around the block a few times. It's a guy with a couple of rings. His name's Tony LaRussa. He's in Chicago, managing the Southside White Sox. 93 and 69 this year. Where do you see LaRussa?
Obviously, he is an amazing manager, and the accolades are off the charts. The way he managed the 2011 Cardinals to a World Series championship was something that I'll never forget. I really won't necessarily forget 2006 either for more disappointing reasons. But either way, the thing is that I kind of recall, and it's not really thorough, so I need you to kind of punch out the details of certain times where he didn't necessarily know the rules of maybe it was the 3-batter rule, or certain times early in the season where he was kind of scratching his head, not exactly knowing what the heck was going on.
So I have an article here from Sporting News that says Tony La Russa admits to not knowing extra inning rule that may have cost the White Sox a game. And I mean, we basically Wednesday afternoon's White Sox Reds matchup made it to extras. La Russa opted to place reliever Liam Hendriks as the team's ghost runner at second base rather than a position player. You can do that. He chose not to.
And I don't recall the situation, but I remember in the playoffs against the Astros, there was also something happened where he sat and talked with the umpires for like 20 minutes because he wasn't getting it.
I'm gonna have to try to find that now.
I don't remember what it was a crazy play. It was some crazy play. But I remember them being, it being just like he was scratching his head.
Okay, so I think I know what you're talking about here. I think what we're talking about is Yasmani Grandal's little like bunt squibber and the baseline thing. And La Russa didn't understand that.
Exactly it.
If we're honest here, Grandal wasn't running in the baseline; he was running in the infield grass. So I'm not gonna cut him down for that one. No. On his career, 2,821 wins, 2,434 losses. That's a .537 win percentage. Obviously, this year is the only year for him on this White Sox tenure. He obviously had a time back in the late 70s and early 80s in the White Sox.
Wow.
Yeah. So this year, 93 and 69. That's a .574 win percentage. He also is 71 and 61 in the playoffs in his career, but went 1-3 this year. So take that for what it is. Yeah. I think La Russa is worthy of at least consideration here, but I think he's backed by a really good team that has a really good offense.
Yes.
And I'm not entirely sure that he's pulling the strings as well as he used to, because he was definitely one of the catalysts toward this 3-batter rule, where he'd bring in a lefty like Mark Zepchinski to face somebody, and then go to another righty to face the next guy, and then bring in Andrew Miller, another lefty, in the same inning.
Yeah.
Wasn't there an issue also with, I forget what year it was in the playoffs when he was with the
2011.
It
was 2011.
Bullpen. Yeah.
Yeah. There was like Boggs and Mott or something, like two guys that had the same syllable. So he just said the last name. If you say the first and the last name, then there's no miscommunication from the bullpen guy. Right. So he said one name, and then Jason Mott came out and he was like, wrong guy. You know?
What the hell are you doing
So,
right,
even still, though, considering all that, he was still amazing in that playoff. And yeah,
Absolutely.
Joe, you're right. Like, he was the type of guy, okay, now I want Dotel. Now I want Sevchinski. And pushing those buttons, like, he was a mint condition National League manager
No doubt.
that can win games with his in-game decisions on knowing which bullpen guy to get you that next out, and then he's just counting outs. How am I going to get the next 4, 5, 6?
Chess master. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. I just don't think that this season is indicative of those types of years in the past.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Jason, you're up next, and we're going to talk about an American League manager here. In fact, it was the best team in the American League for 2021. It was the Tampa Bay Rays, and their manager, Kevin Cash, fresh off of an AL pennant, wins 100 games, loses 62. Where you at on him?
I love Kevin Cash. You know, the Rays are such a, I guess, an anomaly, right? With the way that they manage their pitching staff, and you know, everybody, you know, questions it and wonders, you know, what's he doing? It's working. The team won 100 games. Like, something's working, and he's been there for a long time now. Like, he's probably one of the best managers in the league going, and he proved it this year. I mean, they, you know, in the championship series and 100 wins in the regular season, in a division that included the Red Sox and the Yankees and the Blue Jays. This team is the one that came out on top.
Exactly. I like this pick a lot. I like the fact that he's also the defending manager of the year in the American League from the 2020 season, a season that they won 40 of the 60 games. That's 2/3 of your games. That's pretty damn impressive. He had a .617 winning percentage this season. He is 554 and 478 in his career, all with Tampa as a manager. That's a .537 win percentage. I think he's pretty close to winning this whole thing. But Ben, I've got one more name here. It's Alex Cora of the Boston Red Sox. How do you feel about Alex Cora?
You know, the pitching rotation was so suspect. Like is Nick Pivetta and Nate Eovaldi like going to be able to hold down the fort till Chris Sale comes back? I give him a lot of credit, man. Like the bullpen was a bunch of guys that you weren't sure about, and the bullpen wasn't a very good bullpen this year. But I don't really necessarily blame him for that. He picked a pretty good lineup every day, and this team was supposed to, like I said earlier when we were discussing Devers, like this was supposed to be a rebuilding year for the Boston Red Sox. They were 2 wins away from going to the World Series. So absolutely a guy that deserves consideration. I think he misses out up against the other 3 candidates that we previously discussed. But at the same time, I would say that he outmanaged Aaron Boone in the 1-game playoff. For a little bit of time, he was outmanaging Dusty Baker in that ALCS. And just eventually the team started to fall a little bit short and they weren't scoring runs anymore. So terrific manager. Obviously, it's a lot of times we talk about like what a manager is doing in game, but we don't necessarily know what's going on off the field, how they handle the players in the office and behind closed doors and in practices. And I feel like it's fair to say that these guys really play for him and they play hard for him and they like him. So I think that's another factor that we need to discuss when we're having this conversation.
Yeah. Well, let's start with you here. Who is your AL manager of the year, Ben?
Okay, I really do think Kevin Cash should win this thing. I think just from what we were discussing, like how the hell does this group of guys with basically no star power at all win over 100 games and out best the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the freaking Blue Jays? Like, how did he do it? So I believe he certainly deserves it. I think Dusty Baker is going to win the award. And the reason why is for the reasons that we discussed, in that, like, he was kind of going into a very uncomfortable situation with the scandal. and COVID, and he wasn't really necessarily feeling like he belongs in the group. And over time, they warmed up to him. And I think there's something to be said there. The fact that they were an under 500 team last year. For what last year was, they were an under 500 team. But give them 162 games, they'll show you what they can do. And they played hard for him. I think Dusty Baker wins this award.
Okay. Jason, who are you voting for?
As much as I love Kevin Cash, and I agree with everything you said, Ben, about Kevin Cash, and what I said about, being in that division and coming out on top, I think Scott Service. I think Scott Service is the guy here. The Mariners had who saw this coming season, right? His best season as the Mariners manager. And just something that caught my eye, like I'm big, when it comes to manager, I'm big on continuity. And he's been in that dugout for, 6-7 seasons now. He's the longest tenured manager since Lou Piniella in Seattle.
Wow.
And and that, to me, that means something. It means he's doing a good job. The players like him. The front office likes him. They won 90 games, and we're this close to making it into the postseason. Also, with who was on that team? Chris Flexen. So, I'm going Scott Service here.
I think I'm with you on that, Jason. I really like Scott Service to get this award, because you don't necessarily have to make the playoffs in order to win this award, right? You just have to put together a hell of a season, and you can't tell me who the opening day second baseman for the Seattle Mariners was. You don't know who that is. I don't even think you can tell me who the second baseman who finished the final game of the Seattle Mariners season is.
Was it Mark Rosalonic?
No, but he was in there for a few games when Abraham Toro needed a day off, or Dylan Moore was hurt. They had the Rookie of the Year last year in Kyle Lewis. That dude played 130 at bats for them this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be one of their stars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Where did Ty France come from, and who does he think he is hitting 291 this year? You've got a really, really good core that is approaching the time where they're going to compete.
Yes.
Kalenick's up. Julio Rodriguez is going to come. They've got pitching prospects coming. Logan Gilbert's already up. They've got dudes coming. This is going to be a really good team. And I think it could be really good as soon as next year with the right free agent signings to supplant it.
And with this guy in the dugout, I expect big things for them.
Yeah. We're going to move over to the NL, and we're going to talk about the National League managers who deserve a shot here at Manager of the Year. We're going to start with you, Ben, and we're going to talk about the reigning fourth place finisher of the National League Manager of the Year. But he is a former Manager of the Year in the National League. His name is Brian Snitker of the World Series bound Atlanta Braves. Talk to me about Brian Snitker.
I give him a lot of credit, because I feel like after the Acuna injury, this team could have just fallen on their face, and he kept them comfortable. He kept them believing, and was able to push the right buttons as far as getting the right batting order intact and the right bullpen pieces when it needed it. The one thing that it's not a knock on him, it's more of a credit to someone else in the front office. I feel like more credit is earned for an Alex Anthopoulos, who got Jorge Soler and Jock Peterson and Adam Duvall and Eddie Rosario. He fortified this team and gave Brian Snitker all these new fun toys to play with. So as much as I respect the man in the dugout, I feel like the guy behind the scenes was the real mastermind of it all. It's a pretty nasty group of guys. And when you have like Freddie Freeman and Ozzie Albies and now all these newcomers, it's a very, very dangerous lineup. And I will say that I mean, maybe him and his pitching coach got a lot out of Max Fried that another manager may not have gotten out of him. And he actually really found his stride at a certain point during the season. And Max Fried was one of the better pitchers going at a certain point during the season and down the stretch. So love the manager, love what he brings to the table. Probably a couple of other guys that are in his that are candidates that I think will beat him out here.
Yeah, I think so too. Jason, I'm going to go to you, and we're going to talk about a guy who is no longer employed, but still deserves some sort of recognition here because his team made the playoffs. They won 17 games in a row down the stretch in order to get there. He won 90 games. He won 252 games in his tenure as St. Louis Cardinals manager before being shown the door. It's Mike Shildt.
Yeah. I was shocked. And the world was shocked, right, when he was let go. Well, philosophical reasons, but why? I mean, they succeeded. And in fact, not only did they succeed, but like they were down and out mid-season, and they went on that ridiculous run, that 17-game win streak.
Mm-hmm.
That has to mean something. And they were, I think in August they were like a game over 500, and they finished the season 1972. That's a fine season. And look, yeah, there's some star power there with Goldschmidt and Arenado. They lost. Ben, you mentioned the Braves. You mentioned that trade deadline. They did all the things they did. Cardinals didn't do anything. They got John Lester and Jay Happ. Like, that was what they did. And then they went on this 17-game win streak and made it to the wild card game, lost to the Dodgers. But what an unbelievable season. And for the guy to be let go after that was just, I don't understand it.
Mike Shildt was, they said it was philosophical differences. And according to reporters like The Athletic's Katie Wu, where we felt the team was going, we were struggling to get on the same page. We just decided internally that it would be best to separate now and take a fresh look as we enter a new season, end quote. That quote comes from John Mozeliak, president of baseball operations for the St. Louis Cardinals.
And so they replaced him with a 35-year-old.
Yeah, with his bench
35-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah. He's younger than Yadier Molina and Adam Wainwright.
And us.
Yeah.
And us. That's the new direction.
Yep. All right. Let's see what happens. But Mike Shildt should be at least pointed to and said, you know what? He was one of the better managers this year.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like, he comes in mid-season 2018, from what I remember. He came in the middle of the season. There was a firing of maybe Mike Matheny.
Yep.
And then he comes in. Do they get into the playoffs? No. But 2019, they sure do. Not only do they get in the playoffs, they go to a game 5 with the Braves and spank their tushies in getting a 7-run first inning or like a 9-run first inning, something crazy like that.
Yep.
And then they get swept out of the next round by the Nationals. But whatever, no one was picking them over the Braves that year.
Right.
What do they do in 2020? Okay, they get knocked out of the first round by the Padres, but they got in. They won the first game. What exactly do you want from this guy, Mozeliak? I realize, you're brilliant. You put together the 2006-2011 team, and that's amazing. Mozeliak's one of my favorite GM / head of operation guys in all of baseball. But if the reason is that this guy doesn't like sabermetrics, I'd pull my hair out, as a Cardinals fan. That cannot be the reason. The fact that you don't he doesn't like the computer and you guys like the computer, that would drive me nuts.
Yeah, I could see how that would be pretty annoying to a lot of Cardinals fans, but the dude has won 90 games in the only 2 full seasons he's been a manager of the Cardinals. This is a pretty good manager.
Yeah.
Ben, we're going to turn to you, and I don't think that we're going to have too much more by the way of discussion once I bring up this next guy's name. His team was the best team in baseball all season long. He went 107-55 this year with a 660 win percentage. And he had never been above 500 as a manager prior to this season with two organizations now. It's the San Francisco Giants manager, Gabe Kapler. Talk to me about Gabe Kapler.
Okay, so first of all, Gabe Kapler versus anyone in an MMA match, all the other managers, he would kill two of them at one time. Have you ever seen what this guy looks like without his shirt off?
Yeah.
Talk about like an Adonis.
On his Baseball Reference page, his nickname is Cap or the Body.
Yeah. He would murder like 5 Dusty Bakers, Mike Schultz, and Brian Snickers at one time. What I will say about him as far as a manager is he was a guy even before he started managing that I felt like got it as far as knowing the right time to play a certain guy. So what I mean by that is he would say things like, if I need the most important out in the 7th inning, that's when my closer is coming in. You know, like, I was like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. Like, why wouldn't you throw your best pitcher when there's 2 men on and, you know, it's the number 4, number 5 hitter in the lineup and you're up by 1 or up by 2. Yeah, that's when you put the closer in. Like, that makes sense to me. And then he went to Philly. And he was basically like laughed out of Philly. Like they thought that this guy has no idea what he's doing, right? And then he just needed another opportunity. He gets one here with San Francisco. The 60-game season, you don't really look at that as much of a sample size. Now give him a full season with this group of guys. This group, they have the number 1 bullpen ERA in all of baseball. And he gets as many runs out of this lineup with Yastrzemski, who was supposed to be a star, not really being a factor at all this season. I mean, who the hell was doing it for him besides, you know, a guy that, I mean, I don't know what we were expecting of Buster Posey in 2021, but Buster Posey's the catcher. Like, he's not even necessarily playing a ton of the games. For them to win as many games as they won, with the bullpen being as good as they were, with having a rotation of Gaussman, and I don't even know who else, like this,
Logan Webb, Anthony DeSclafani, Alex Wood, Johnny Cueto.
Sure. Like that group won over 100 games. Won the most games in baseball. I'm stunned. I'm blown away. He's my guy.
Yeah. He's my guy too. Jason, is he your guy, or should we go on to the next guy?
We don't need to go on to the next guy.
Okay.
Might as well.
Don't even bother. It's Gabe Kapler.
Can we just? Yeah.
Oh no, we could certainly talk.
Let's talk about the guy.
Yeah.
All right.
Bring on, Jason. The final guy that we had here was the manager of a team that continues to just impress and make the playoffs, and then just sort of bow out and go, okay, we're done. Thank you. When does Craig Counsell get the Milwaukee Brewers over the hump?
Yeah, that's a great question because, and poor Craig Counsell, like, I feel like he's one of the best managers in baseball, but like he never gets the recognition. He's 4 times maybe finished in top 10 manager of the year.
And 18 and 19, he finished second both times.
Okay. Like, right. So whenever that team gets over the hump, maybe that's when he gets over the hump. But I mean, the team, you know, and Ben, you've said it, this team didn't have anybody, especially offensively. Like, obviously Garcia was your best hitter. Like, you know, what did you have? And
they had a great rotation. They had a great rotation. Please don't poo-poo this team that much. Brandon Woodruff was great. Corbin Burns was great. Did we forget Freddie Peralta also had an ERA south of 3?
Sure. But you don't win games unless you score runs.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, how is he able to manufacture the runs, finding the right lineup, the right batting order, day in, day out, with Yelich not really being a factor, Colton Wong in and out, Lorenzo Cain in and out, like, how was
And-
he pulling out wins? Like, how did he win
and
the division?
using his bullpen. Look, using guys like Jake Cousins, and they had Trevor Richards, and I mean, obviously they have Josh Hader and Devin Williams at the back end, but before you get to them, it was a bunch of who
It
are
was a
these
bunch
guys?
of Brad Boxberger and Hunter Strickland.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you need those guys to at least eat up innings so that you're not killing the rotation and guys like Williams and Hader. Like, you need them to have breaks throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Counsell had a good recipe on how to keep all these guys fresh.
Yeah. He's definitely been one of my favorite managers to watch since he took over in Milwaukee.
And I
That
think
being
here's
said-
the thing. I think if Jackie Bradley Jr. doesn't hit 163 this
Oh,
year,
he was
if
awful.
Christian Yelich doesn't hit 248 this year with 9 home runs, there were more home runs hit by Omar Narvaez than there were by Christian Yelich this year. Like, that's not Counsell's fault. And he
No.
still won 95 games and beat the shit out of the NL Central.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the late run by the Cardinals, it would have been like a double-digit win, like number of wins that he won the Central by. He's a great manager. It's just Gabe Kapler had this Gabe Kapler season, and like we can't push that away.
The one thing I'll say about Gabe Kapler is, and I remember when they were playing the Mets, and the way he used his bench was just, it was amazing. Like, he was pulling guys in the 4th and 5th and 6th innings because of the platoon. They scored a bunch of runs against the Mets or whatever, and the Mets had to make a pitching change. Okay, you're bringing in a lefty. I got righties. Let me pull. Let me bring in Wilmer Flores, and
I was gonna say, like, and I feel like in that final game against the Dodgers, that Game 5, he might have gotten a little too cute. I was like, wait, why did Yastrzemski only get one at bat? Like, wait a minute, Donovan Solano's back. Like, why is he now in the game? Like, it was happening so fast, and I was like, maybe you want to give these guys a chance to get a couple of more at bats. Like, he was just like, he was trying to go for the jugular early, and like he got like honestly a lucky game-tying home run from Darren Ruff. Like, I don't think any of us even expected that to happen. He looks like a genius for putting that guy in and him hitting a home run, but like, it was a lot of mix and matching in one game, and I think it's more well suited for the marathon for 162 games than it was for that one game.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. But
all right,
I'm looking. He made 2.6 pinch hitters per game. That is more than Brian Snitker, more than Craig Counsell, more than Dusty Baker. He used his bench as well as anybody.
Yeah, he got a lot out of him. He really got a lot out of guys like Solano and Flores. He really did.
Yeah. Especially Flores. Like, I think this might be the best Wilmer Flores season we've seen.
It has to be.
2017 was pretty good. 271 average, 18 homers, 52 RBIs. This season, 262 average, 18 homers, 53 RBIs. Like, it's the best one we've seen, at least since he's left the Mets. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
And the argument could be made this is the best season we've seen of Wilmer Flores.
And I think he's endeared himself to the Giants fans like he did to the Mets fans. Like, I think they like him there now.
Yeah, it's an easy fan base though. Like, I feel like it's not like the Giants fans really get on their players. They didn't even do that pre-2010. Now that they've won 3 championships, I think they've experienced enough nirvana that it's like it's a real loving city anyway in San Francisco, right? Like, he fits in perfectly.
Yeah,
you're gonna cry. We'll cry with you.
All right, so we have Gabe Kapler as our manager of the year on the NL side. That will bring us to the final category here, gentlemen. We're going to talk about comeback players of the year, the feel-good stories of the 2021 season. We're going to start in the AL as we have. Ben Nisman, we're going to start with you, and we're going to start with a player who missed a lot of time over the last couple, or at least last year. He missed all of 2020 and missed 199 games in 2019. This year, he hit 253, 39 homers, 100 RBIs, 110 runs scored in 157 games. He was absolutely one of the many catalysts for why the Seattle Mariners won 90 games and got within one game of wild card. It's Mitch Haniger.
One of the most peculiar, unexpected, and strange injuries of all time to keep you out of the game for as long as you've been out. To come back with that kind of injury and put up those kinds of silly numbers on a Seattle Mariners team that was not expected to go anywhere this year is nothing short of impressive. 100 RBI on the nose, love it. Over 33 home runs on the impressive. The only other guy that could think of that had like a weirder or as weird of an injury that took him out of the game forever. If you remember a player on the 2003 championship Marlins, also I think had one of, if not the furthest home run hit ever in Yankee Stadium for the Tigers. His name is Juan Encarnacion.
I thought that's where you were going.
A foul ball hit him in the eye, in the on-deck circle, and it blinded him in one eye, and he can never play again.
Yeah.
Maybe he tried to play again, but it's like you only have vision in one eye and you're a baseball player. It's pretty important to have vision in both. So it was very unfortunate for a guy that was young enough that he could have still had a really impressive career. He had one of those 2 RBIs in the clinching Game 6 for the 2003 Marlins. I mean, this guy was really going in the right direction. Good hitter across the board. But since then, I couldn't think of a weirder injury until Mitch Haniger. And the fact that this guy came back and exploded onto the scene, I mean, it's really amazing. And I hope that he's a guy that we're talking about as a perennial all-star year to year.
He certainly could be, and he's going to make an interesting situation here with the outfield of the Seattle Mariners because Kyle Lewis is a guy, Jared Kelenic is a guy, Julio Rodriguez is a guy, and he's a guy. You can only play three
Rodriguez. Yeah, Rodriguez doesn't have to come up next year, though.
Not yet. I mean, he probably will. You could probably put Mitch Haniger as the DH now because Kyle Seager's gone. Who knows? We shall see. Jason Ashby, the other gentleman that I'm going to nominate for this award, did not play in 2020. Not because he opted out for COVID, not because he was hurt, but because the motherfucker beat cancer, Trey Mancini. This season, 255 average, 326 on base, 21 homers, 71 RBIs, 77 runs scored, 147 games. I think Ryan Mountcastle kind of supplanted him as the leader, at least offensively, of that team. But there's nobody who is going to be as inspirational as this guy for the Baltimore Orioles.
No, and one of the coolest things that I got to do was be at Coors Field while this guy was participating in the home run derby a year after beating cancer. It was truly amazing. The fans in Colorado who don't know Baltimore, were up cheering for this guy. It was truly amazing. And look, he had, a down year, I guess, on, statistically for his standards. It was still a good year, and he beat cancer. I mean, what else is there to say?
Yeah. I mean, look, in 2019, he hit 35 home runs, drove in 97 RBIs, and scored 106 runs.
Thank you very much.
That is another Ben Nisman guy from a championship season. But, I mean, did we expect him to come back and do that? I don't think so. But this is a really nice season from a guy who just beat cancer. Are we agreeing that it's Trey Mancini because of the story over Mitch Haniger, despite the better season?
I think Maniker.
That's a guy.
I think Mitch Haniger deserves the award more because of the season that he had.
And I tend to give it to Mancini because of what he came back from, and we've seen it. Carlos Carrasco got it a couple of years ago. I think Andres Galarraga had gotten it back when he battled. So
Yeah.
I think it's Trey Mancini. Absolutely, Maniger had the better of the season, but the comeback is Mancini's.
So I'm gonna side with Ben here, not because I don't believe that Trey Mancini is worthy of it, but we've also got that moment during the All-Star game already where we've acknowledged this and we've given this some light, and a lot of people know about it. Not many people are going to know about Mitch Haniger's ruptured testicle from 2019 that kept him out for a long time.
He's got to live with that the rest of his life.
Yeah, and
You know,
now,
the fact that,
and he hit 40. He almost hit 40 home runs, drove in 100, and scored 100. Like,
Yeah.
that's really good. That's really
And
good.
And not discounting him, and I'm not discounting him, and he definitely deserves it. I think it's going to end up being Mancini.
I get it. I get you.
I get it too. It's just that Maniker. You know, I think I said Maniker because I'm picking a hangnail, so maybe I need a manicure. But it's also a lesson to everybody. Like if he is the comeback player and people know his story, it's like a lesson to like kids, like wear a cup. Like everyone should like, I mean, my girlfriend's son, like this was the season where now it's mandatory. Like all the kids must wear one, you know, and guys like Keith Hernandez never wore one. He said it felt uncomfortable. And I mean, Keith Hernandez, arguably the best defensive first baseman of all time, and never had a concern with something like that happening to him. But it can very easily happen when you're standing at the plate, right?
Mm-hmm.
It could happen to a catcher, even more easily than anything. But it is a reminder, like things like this can happen. So like maybe it's better safe than sorry.
I don't know, but I'm going Haniger. Jason has the feel-good story in Trey Mancini. Let's move over to the NL. I have a late addition to this that you guys don't know about, and I am just going to throw it in when we get there.
But start with him.
All right, let's start with him, and let's kick it to you, Ben. This guy had a very, very bad couple of years leading up to this season. He hit 274 with a 378 on-base percentage, good for a 975 OPS, 29 home runs, 59 RBIs, 65 runs scored. His name is Brandon Belt. How do we feel about Brandon Belt?
Did he not play last year?
He played 51 games last year, only hit 9 homers, a 309 average. He played 156 in 2019, but this is really a coming out story for him because he just hasn't been this good ever.
No, and he was always supposed to be very good.
Yeah. He never hit more than 18 home runs in a season. He hit 29 this year. Like, the weird thing is that he only drove in other players 30 times, and he drove himself in 29 times. Like, that's a weird anomaly.
RBI total is really weird.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of solo shots. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice story, and it's nice to see a guy that's finally figuring it all out. How old is he now? Is he 32?
He's 33 this year. He will be 31 in April of next year.
Wait, sorry, you went from 33 to 31.
31.
30?
He's 34 next year. He'll be 34 in April of next year.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So if he doesn't count, then we'll go to the pitcher. Jason, you know this guy. He's on our favorite team. He did not play last year because he opted out during the 2020 pandemic. And in 2019, he was pretty good. This year, a 3.02 ERA, 179 innings to 158 strikeouts, and a whip of 1.15, 10-13 record. Like I said, the 3.02 ERA, his name is Marcus Stroman.
Yeah, and where the hell would the Mets have been without him, right? I mean, especially after losing DeGrom, midseason. This guy, he became the ace of the staff. And throwing 8-inning gems in Cincinnati and Colorado, and just really keeping the Mets in some sort of contention as long as they were. He just couldn't do it all himself. Yeah, and to come back after not pitching at all last season, to come back and have the season that he did, speaks to him. And I watch him. I do watch him on Instagram, and I watch his he puts up stories about his with his workout routine and his regimens, and he works hard. He works very, very hard, and it paid off.
The other players who opted out last season, excluding the guy that we're about to talk about: Brian Zimmerman, Mike Leake, Joe Ross, Ian Desmond, David Price, Tyson Ross, Felix Hernandez, Nick Markakis, Michael Kopech, Jordan Hicks, Lorenzo Cain, Yoenis Cespedes. None of them are even remotely close to being anything worthwhile. So the final guy is another guy who opted out. He opted out because he had just adopted premature identical twin girls, and he didn't feel like coming in contact with other players was good for them, given their compromised situation. He comes back this season, Benjamin, hits .304 with a .390 on-base percentage, good for an .889 OPS. He hit 18 home runs, 56 RBIs, 68 runs scored in 113 games. His name is Buster Posey.
Yes, the former Rookie of the Year, former MVP, 3-time world champion, and you're going to add this one to the list, Comeback Player of the Year, because I don't think any of us expected him to pull out that kind of a batting average and on-base percentage. Based on the missing time, and that 2019 was so, like, it was good, like, it was just, this was more of the Buster Posey that we know and love. And I respect the fact that he was able to take that time off and heal his body a little bit. Like, I think that really did, I think it was a good decision logically for his baseball durability, to be able to say, okay, 60 games, grinding it out, like, not worth it. I need to be 110% for a full season, getting behind that plate. I mean, I'm not getting much younger. I'm 35 years old now. Good decision by him to say, like, in my mid-30s, I don't need to be in this. Like, I can live without playing this 2020 season so that I can be the best player for my, at least one of the best players on the San Francisco Giants, and be a leader. And he could be there as much as possible, and he was unbelievable.
Yeah, no doubt. And he's my Comeback Player of the Year as well. He led this Giants team. He is the heart and soul and the only remaining piece left of this dynasty. Jason, is it a clean sweep from Buster Posey?
Yeah, with all love to Marcus Stroman, I don't think there's a case to be made against Buster Posey here. 18 home runs. So even if you don't count 2020, he hit 12 combined between 2018 and 2019. Like, so it's a comeback player because he's back from being out of a year, but also one of the better seasons he's had in recent years. Like, after the 2019 season, you kind of start to wonder, is this, is he towards the end here?
Beginning the end, yeah.
And then he didn't play last year, in 2020. And you kind of wondered, okay, what am I getting with Buster Posey? And I don't remember where he was drafted or if he was drafted in the bigs, but I know that it was the deep discount, because you didn't know what you're getting with this guy. He's coming back from missing the entire season after having a down year. So, in your head, you're going, okay, yeah, this is another, this is Joe Mauer at the end of his career, kind of thing. And he put together a fantastic season.
Mm-hmm. He was, in fact, drafted. He was drafted by Bobby Russo in our league, and 21st round was where he
26.
Went.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
All right, let's recap here. For the AL MVP, I have Shohei Ohtani. Ben is going with Rafael Devers. Jason with Vlad Guerrero Jr. In the NL, I took Fernando Tatis. My co-hosts decided to go with Trey Turner. On the AL Cy Young, we're in agreement. It's Robbie Ray, and not much is going to touch him right now. He was that good. On the NL Cy Young, we've all got different names. Jason went with Zach Wheeler. Ben with Max Scherzer. I went with Corbin Burns. For AL Rookie of the Year, Ben and I are in agreement on Ryan Mountcastle, Jason on an island with Emmanuel Clase. Rookie of the Year, I went with Trevor Rogers, you boys, Jonathan India. AL Manager of the Year, Ben and I are in agreement on Scott Service. Or no, I'm sorry, me and Jason are in agreement on Scott Service. Ben has Dusty Baker. NL Manager of the Year, we're in agreement. It is Gabe Kapler.
Unanimous.
Yeah, unanimously, it will be Gabe Kapler. AL Comeback Player of the Year, Jason has Trey Mancini as Cancer Survival. Ben and I are on Mitch Haniger. And the final one, the NL Comeback Player of the Year, we're in agreement. It's Buster Posey. What an incredible show. What an incredible 2021 season. Jason, thank you so much for being here. And again, for the second week in a row, this is your brainchild.
Love it. I love it. I love talking baseball. I love talking baseball with you guys. Mike, you as well. It's always a fun time.
Absolutely. Ben Nisman, second week as champion in the postseason. Thank you again for being here, buddy.
Thank you for having me, Jason. Thanks for coming up with numerous fantastic ideas that we can break down week to week. It's always a pleasure talking baseball with you guys. Thank you so much.
And thank you guys for watching. For those of you who are new and found your way here from our TikTok, thank you so much. Check us out on Instagram, on Twitter, and soon on Facebook. For those of you listening to our audio files on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, you can find us anywhere that you listen to podcasts. And of course, for those of you at home right now, looking at me pointing at you on YouTube, we love you guys so much. Thanks for being here. Until next time, guys, it's been real, it's been fun, and it is always real fun in the bigs. We'll see you next time.